Welcome to Module 11, the final module of the WWC RDD Standards Training focused on the Study Review Guide. This module introduces the WWC Study Review Guide, or SRG, for regression discontinuity designs. The Study Review Guide is a tool used by WWC reviewers to help them review the study against the WWC standards and to code study findings for WWC products. At the end of this module, you'll be familiar with the different parts of the Study Review Guide and the information that belongs in each section. The current version of the Study Review Guide for regression discontinuity designs and the user's guide containing instructions can be found on the WWC website at the URL displayed below and is also linked from the training homepage. There are 4 key elements of a review that will be identified by the coordinator of the review, which reviewers will use to fill out the Study Review Guide. A reviewer assesses a study of an intervention, and that assessment will use the WWC's standards and procedures alongside a review protocol which outlines review-specific requirements for studies in the review. The Study Review Guide for regression discontinuity designs is an Excel spreadsheet that has 4 sheets that a reviewer may need to use while performing a review. The main tab on the spreadsheet contains information regarding the WWC's regression discontinuity design standards and the overall study characteristics. You will be asked to provide page numbers and narrative details for your selections in this section. The Data tab contains information regarding each outcomes measure and effect size information if appropriate. The Author Query and Response tab contains questions for the corresponding author if there are questions about the study which may affect the final WWC rating. Finally, the Summary tab on the Study Review Guide spreadsheet contains a quick overview, summarizing outcomes and final study ratings. Before discussing the different parts of the Study Review Guide, we want to offer you some tips for completing a WWC review using the Study Review Guide. Before you start a review, carefully read the review protocol you will use for the review. It may contain special requirements for the study sample. Read the study completely through one time before beginning the review. This will allow you to have a sense of the overall study before you start completing the review. Pieces of information that you need to complete one part of the review may not all be located in a single part of the study manuscript. Use complete sentences when writing review notes and completing study narrative fields. If possible, avoid acronyms. Also, check your Study Review Guide for spelling or grammatical errors. Clearly document in the review notes any assumptions you made in the course of the review. For instance, if information about attrition was incomplete, but you made conservative assumptions about attrition that allowed the study to meet standards, note those assumptions in the narrative fields. Clearly document in the review notes any questions you have for the authors that may affect the final study disposition. Include study page references in the review notes and the study narrative. Let's begin our overview of the main tab. Please note that these screenshots may appear slightly different from the actual SRG that you are using or looking at. Magnification and font sizes have occasionally been adjusted to ensure clarity of presentation. At the top of the main tab, there will be information about the study review, including the study ID, your WWC reviewer number, the date of the review, and a citation for the study. Much of this information is likely to be completed by WWC topic area leadership when assigning you a study to review. Ensure that the information is complete and correct. The next section in the main tab will identify the standards version and the review protocol version used to complete the study review. Ensure that these sections are filled out correctly. This section will also detail the name of the intervention that is the focus of the review. The next section is the general screening criteria section. The fields in this section will help a reviewer to ensure that the study meets the general requirements for the WWC to review any study, and the specific eligibility requirements laid out in the review protocol. When completing this section of the Study Review Guide, reviewers should always provide supporting details and study pages. After you've completed the screening section of the Study Review Guide, indicate the general disposition of the study. Provide a full explanation of the disposition code in the fields provided. This section ensures that a study meets the eligibility requirements for the study to be reviewed as a regression discontinuity design. After you've completed the RDD screening section, indicate the final disposition of the study. Provide a full explanation of the disposition code in the fields provided. If the study passes the screening requirements for WWC review, then your review will move on to the next section of the main tab of the study review guide. In this section, you will assess whether the study meets the WWC's Regression Discontinuity design standards. Once again, make sure to provide supporting details, as well as the supporting study page numbers here and throughout the SRG. It is not enough to provide narrative documentation for your screening and review. You should always provide study page numbers to support your responses. As you proceed through the study review guide, there will be links to other sections of the study review guide. Clicking on the link will take you to those sections. Complete these sections of the study review guide before proceeding to the next part of the main tab. Once you have completed the second section of the main tab of the study review guide, you will arrive at the final study rating. Provide an explanation for that study rating and disposition code. If there is any information not present in the study that might affect the final rating of the study, or any findings in the study, in this part of the study review guide will indicate what information is required to complete the review and how that might impact the rating. Finally, if the rating may differ across the analyses contained in the study, please detail a separate rating for each sample, outcome, and time period if appropriate. The final stage of the main tab of the study review guide is the study details stage. The study details should be completed for studies that meet the WWC's Regression Discontinuity design standards. Next, let's move on to the data tab of the study review guide. This section contains some important information about study measures, the domains the measures belong to, and helps the reviewer to determine if the outcome meets the WWC's requirements for an eligible outcome. There is also a place to note any concerns the reviewers might have about a measure if they are uncertain whether a measure meets the WWC's requirements. The next part of this tab is the attrition section, where reviewers enter study details to determine whether or not there was acceptable attrition in the study. This section of the data tab is for reviewers to perform baseline equivalence calculations. This next part of the data tab allows reviewers to enter information about the analysis and the results of the study so the WWC can calculate an effect size for the study. Finally, the findings section reports on the WWC calculated effect size and other important summary information for reporting the results of the study. If it is necessary to reach out to the authors via author query for additional information to complete a review, the author query tab is a place to draft any questions you might have for the authors. Any response to the author query can also be recorded here. Finally, the summary tab provides a quick overview of all the findings and domains in the review and the study ratings after you've completed a study review. This module described the use of the RDD SRG and its important components. We demonstrated how to use the RDD SRG to apply the WWC RDD standards and how to document information about the design, findings, and context for an RDD study. Thank you for watching this series of training modules on the WWC's Regression Discontinuity design standards. As a reminder, if you would like to become certified in the WWC's Regression Discontinuity design standards, a link to the exam can be found on the main page of the WWC RDD online training.